place for
No.
stuff like that?
It throws everything. It's counterintuitive to everything that we talk about, which is that the variable that fucks things up is the human variable, right? If we let dogs develop relationships themselves and we let them communicate with each other and we solely play lifeguard and we solely are there to make sure things don't get out of hand, they typically will develop stronger relationships with each other, because they know how to figure this stuff out deeper than we know how to figure this stuff out for them. They understand what all of those pushes and pulls are way more than we understand what those things are. And we're just here to try to the absolute best we can to interpret those types of things and learn better how they develop relationships with each other so we can help them be more successful long term. So there's this guy, Brandon Fouché, out in California. He is like a trainer slash behaviorist. And maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, me and Tyler Mudo became like fascinated with this guy. He kind of came out of the woodwork because he's like super on the DL. Like he's got a YouTube channel. It's got like 900 followers or something like that on it. He hardly ever posts on it anymore, but it's like a gold mine of socialization information, right? So Brandon Fouché has this philosophy that you could rehabilitate dogs, and that obedience commands are one of the worst things that you could use in order to rehabilitate dogs, right? And he primarily works with aggression issues towards other dogs, right? He does socialization related stuff. And his philosophy is basically that, which is you let things hit the point of just getting to the absolute max before it's going to turn into a problem, and then once it hits that point, if it teeters over the edge, then you shut it down, right? But the idea is that all of these, like if you have like socialization on a spectrum of like really, really chill to super freaking out of control, like loose cannon, like gonna explode at any moment, a lot of people will start addressing socialization problems somewhere in the middle, right? The snap, when things hit this energy level that they're not uncomfortable with, when you start getting scared of the noises, when you don't understand what you're seeing, right? And basically what he said is if you just take a step back and you remove yourself from the equation and you just let dogs socialize and you just let dogs interact with each other, typically 9 out of 10 times it's gonna be much better than you think it is, and you're gonna see progress because the dogs will actually learn how to interact with each other without the need of your constant micromanagement, right? So in the case of Rocky, when he first got here, he was extremely snappy towards other dogs, extremely uncomfortable with other dogs, and most people would look at that and they would try to shut it down, correct the snapping, correct the uncomfort, and try to get him to avoid and move away and this and that. And instead we took an approach of we didn't correct for it at all. We literally just allowed it to take place, and we incrementally added different types of dogs that would push him out of his shell more and more and more and more until we hit a point where he was able to just let it loose and learn, I can control this stuff. I can interact with other dogs, right? And because of that, we've seen such unbelievable progress with him over the weeks in his ability to successfully interact and regulate his responses, right? We've seen the snapping decrease itself to extremely minimal at this point. And when he first got here, what originally was like hard snaps and not necessarily attacking other dogs, but like much more committed types of behaviors. At this point, he's understanding he can communicate when he's stressed out without needing to take it to these extremes because he's learned how to self-regulate, right? And that's what I think is so cool about this kind of stuff. And I always say, like, when it comes to like aggression issues and stuff like that, like I feel like 90% of what I know about it comes from being able to watch these dogs interact like that and see how they handle these types of things, right?
You kind of learn some like common triggers and stuff like that. It's like, okay,
100%.
well, like that's just them just sniffing or whatever. But like you could see, like she kind of even like was nipping at him too for a little bit. But it was once he realized this is what I'm doing to you, kind of thing, and you're okay with it, and then it kind of like escalated to okay, now I can try to play with you a little bit, right?
And then the more you do it, the more you also have to understand the individual play styles of dogs, right? Like when she kept doing that jump over and nip the back of the neck, jump over and nip the back of the neck. But that's how German Shepherds play.
Right.
That is a German Shepherd trait, right? That is a dog specific trait that your doodles and all these other dogs, they're not doing those types of things. Your pit bulls aren't typically doing those types of things. They play in different types of ways. And once you see more and more and more and more and more of that kind of stuff, you get less scared of those things and you realize it's just not as much of a concern, you know? So I think that was awesome.
Yeah.
That was a victory right there.
For sure.